guest today is Ricardo Karam, a Lebanese talk show host, author, public speaker, and philanthropist, who during a career spanning over 30 years enchanted Arab audiences with raw, genuine, and piercing interviews with some of the world's most influential figures. Ricardo interviewed the likes of the Dalai Lama, Charles Aznavour, Zaha Hadid, Paulo Coelho, to name just a few. And in 2009, Ricardo founded TAKREEM, a foundation that aims to honor Arab accomplishment and bring Arab achievers to the forefront of the global stage. Ricardo, I'm so honored to have you here today. Thank you so much for doing this.
Mona, it's my pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much for thinking of me and for inviting me.
Ricardo, the world can sometimes perceive us through the lens of our achievements, yet there is a person behind it all. So if it was up to you to introduce yourself, how would you?
I think I'm a citizen of the world who is very curious and has always been eager to learn more and more. My life has been a set of interesting encounters and a wonderful landscape of books I have read, of movies I've watched, of experiences I have learned, and of lessons I have drawn. All of that made my journey, I believe, a non-typical one, a journey that I've decided to draw myself. I'm someone for whom humanity matters mostly, and the causes of justice and human rights have always been leading me in everything I've done. I am very content with what I've achieved and proud of the human being I was able to maintain within myself.
How much of it, Ricardo, has been serendipitous versus planned on your end when you look back?
Nothing was planned. Everything that happened to be happened, I wouldn't say randomly. It was, of course, a consequence of hard work and tough hours of work. I'm someone workaholic who believes that the willpower and the ability to say, I can make it, allowed me to reach the milestones I did. But however, I never thought I would reach places I am currently in. I have worked so hard, but my dreams, even if they were big, did not allow me to think as big as where I am today. I had wings and I believed in myself and I've counted on myself and always known that nobody would do anything to me. I have never expected anything from anybody. This is a very important tip that has always accompanied me in my life. And I've always said, I want to make it. I want to make it. I want to be different. And I was different. But nothing tangible was planned.
When you speak of achievement and hard work, everything in life comes at a cost. Were you restless throughout the journey, or were you poised and just looking forward to what's coming next? Or there's been a shift throughout the years of your state of mind while trying to achieve everything that you've achieved?
I knew that if I make a small stop, the people competing with me would be far away ahead of me. So I had no other choice than working and working and working. I've worked in very few institutions before I founded my own company and then different companies and foundations. However, I've understood since day one that it was not at all the environment I wished to be in. I saw those institutions as, I'm sorry to say it, but as a grave for ambitions and for dreams, unless you make concessions. And I'm someone who does not know how to make concessions. I don't make settlements. I believe in what I believe, and I go till the end to achieve what I believe in. And I've always stuck to my principles all my life, since my beginnings. Sometimes they tell you at the beginnings, you can make mistakes and learn from your mistakes, etc. It doesn't mean I haven't made mistakes. I did, of course. I committed so many errors. However, on a macro level, they were nothing. They were tiny, tiny falls and nothing important to think about. But mistakes for me are when you fall in traps and when you forget about your principles and the values that you carry and that you wish to perpetuate through the work you're doing. So, no, I never rested. Actually, I was thinking about that a couple of days ago. I said, my God, I never took real vacations and real holidays and put my phones off and thought about myself, my wife, my family. It was never like that. The phones were always in my pockets, waiting for calls, scheduling conference calls, Zoom meetings, working on projects, visualizing new projects, new programs, new exercises. And even now, after all those years, I do not know what the word rest means.
I'm sure a lot of people would be able to relate with that. Or actually, not a lot of people, but there is always the aspiration to be the most productive one can be. And I think a lot of people really struggle with that because what it comes down to is just loving what you're doing to an end. And that's sadly not very common.
Do not forget that I live in a country and I've chosen to remain in Lebanon. I had huge offers worldwide and I could have left easily and started or pursued my careers elsewhere and maybe embraced more fame and more success. But I did not want, I did not imagine myself leaving and settling somewhere else. I live in the plain, it's true, but my base is Beirut, a city I'm so fond of, a city I adore. Every single corner of it and every single aspect of it, I adore it, simply adore it. So in Lebanon, unfortunately, with what we've gone through since my childhood, I've always been familiar with wars. Wars have been parts of my life and different kinds of wars. Chaotic wars, civil wars, wars between brothers, um, wars of checkpoints, wars and assassinations, explosions, you name them. I've been acquainted to every single aspect of terrorism, fear, blood, and despite that, I love my country. So living in such a difficult environment offers you a lot of determination and pushes you to be different and to give more. Because you don't give to only fulfill your own ambitions and to do good to yourself, but to do good to others. And what is the most rewarding feeling? That when you feel that you're spreading hope, conveying love, positive energy, and beautiful messages to people around you. I think I succeeded in that, and I'm so proud of that.
Are there any elements or traits in your personalities that you attribute to having grown up in a part of the world that's conflict-ridden? You've shared so much already, but perhaps things or aspects of your personality you wish you didn't have and you kind of acquired because of the circumstances you were under.
Sure. First of all, I've always learned that I needed to count on myself, and there was no one I can eventually count on. I knew that nobody would scratch my back except myself. And, this led to determination, to autonomy, to self-dependence, and at the same time to independence. Those traits helped me a lot in my life. I'm someone who is very disciplined and who love things to be done by the book. I do not accept midway. I want to achieve things fully without any fall. And people who work with me suffer from that. They relate to me, they want to be like me. It's impossible. This is a personality. I'm a tough cookie at work, but we cannot succeed and achieve things unless we are tough cookies. Trust me. So I think my life was not an easy one, even on a personal level. I'm the outcome of all those difficulties, and difficulties allow you to recreate yourself every day and to become a better person, a better human being, and to embrace change and success more and more. And when I look at it today, after 5 decades, I think that nothing happens like that. Everything happens for a reason.
You've talked a lot about autonomy and being self-reliant. Surely there were people in your life that played major roles in some shape or form. Can you share with us a little bit more who those people are and what kind of impact they've had on your journey?
I do not think that someone shaped my journey. I think experiences shaped my journey. Encounters, like I've said at the beginning, people who came across my life. Of course, the core is always nurtured home, and my mom and my grandma played a major role in nurturing me and feeding me with values, with those abilities to dream and to say I can make it. But the rest, was on me. However, my interesting journey, went from one place to another. And for me to move, I had to go into a train. And at each stop, there was someone coming in and accompanying me in this journey. Some people backed off, some people went down from the train, and others remained next to me all my life. And I owe everything that I've done to a lot of people who are next to me still. My DOP, director of photography, my director, my producers, my assistants, all those people who care for me, and all those people who wanted me to climb the ladder more and more and to succeed. So sometimes the role is not major, but even in the small role they play, their impact is huge. So yes, many people were next to me. My family was the core of my life, but the rest, the work, the strategy, the ideas, the vision, I think it was my product. It was my invention, and it was myself who put the headlines and who said, those will be the themes of your life. Comply to them, abide by them, and make it happen.
Ricardo, going back to my introduction, what a lot of people know Ricardo for are his extremely piercing and just genuine interviews. I've watched your interview with Venus Khoury recently, and it was just phenomenal. And what I also love about what you do is give a platform to day-to-day people who may not have so much notoriety but have interesting stories to share. I'm curious, when you meet so many of the greats, how does that change your conception of what greatness means in human beings?
Greatness is a big word. And it's a big word, both. It's a world by itself and a very important word. And the people or the person who can really acquire the word greatness is so lucky. I think greatness is being above small things, is going towards the core of life, the deep feelings of life, going into the depth of our patterns, and not being content, and not being glued and attached to unimportant things. Some people, they care for details. Details are important. But for them, the details are the ones we see at the shell and not inside. The great people are those who say, well, I want to go and change the world. For me to impact the world, I need to go for change. Change maker. Change makers are great people. They're not trendsetters. I'm not talking about the ones who set the trends, because trends come and go. That's why we call them trends. But the ones who impact history, okay, they're here, and their fingerprint or footprint is here for life, and it stays. So for me, Venus Khurigata or Amin Malouf, or Emily Nasrallah, or Leila Usayran, or those wonderful authors I have come across, they're great people. Because they came at an era, don't forget, it was an important era. They were pioneers. They dared to say no to constraints, to barriers, to parameters, and they changed the whole society through their work. They were incredible. And if you move, from the world of literature to the world of art, of music, Sabah, was a great person. Feiruz is a great person. So we're talking about giants. And giants do not come every day. I was lucky to come at an era of life, or an era in life, where there were still those people. They were at the pinnacle of their productivity, and they gave a lot. I pity today's world, because I don't see those great people. They might become great, but I see their impact today. It's a trend that comes and goes in all fields. In all fields. Today's world is the world of digital media, virtual platforms, everything that's very quick. People do not read. People do not listen to music. People do not go to theater. People do not go to movie theaters anymore, or Netflix all the time. Things have changed. We used to wait for a book to come out. We used to wait for a magazine to be printed on Saturdays. We used to wait for some magazines to come from Europe once a month. And sometimes, due to situations and bad situations, the airport was closed and the magazines were not on time. So you used to wait for the coming week or for the week after. And sometimes for months, the magazine did not come to us. So, but even in that, in waiting, I love the feeling of waiting. There's something you would feel once this process of waiting finishes. So once I get my magazines, wow, I got the magazines. Like the first interviews I have done, the first time I have interviewed a known personality, it was for me, wow. Wow, that was, a miracle, a dream coming true. And then I kept on seeing people and people and people, and then, I've met the whole world. And the feeling changes with time. And it's always a pleasure to meet new people, interesting people. But the feeling I used to have before is not here anymore. It vanished. Yeah, it was a very interesting period of my life and in everybody's life. Things have changed today.
I think the reason a lot of people would be captivated by stories, one is inspiration, obviously, and the seeing somebody be able to achieve certain things and aspire to the same, but also learning. When you hear somebody's story, you can make some deductions and things you may want to change about your life. But I always wonder if some things are only learned when experienced. I'm curious, what's your take on that? You've spoken to many, And I'm sure you found many things insightful and you really wanted to like hold on to them. But did that translate into Ricardo's own life or it took some time?
Yeah, I'm a fast learner. I learned from others' experiences, from the lessons, you know, I have compiled, thanks to my encounters with those people, thanks to what they told me. But I know deep inside that not everything that is told is real and true. People try always to give the best and to portray the American dream, between brackets. The American dream is definitely embracing success and embracing the sky because it has no limit, the sky. This is what they say. Now, what we're going through today is different. It has countered this image in America. But this is another issue. However, you learn, yes. You listen. If you're a good listener, yes. But you cannot apply what you learn. You need to live yourself and draw your own lessons of life. Your own lessons of life. And to live the failures and the successes yourself. Others' failures and successes could be impactful, but you cannot grab them the way you do with yours. I think people love storytelling. They love simple stories, and the ones that impact people mostly are the most simple ones because they are real. Let's not put makeup when we tell stories. Let's be authentic storytellers. Let's not go for the final cut where everything goes through scissors, and you do editing, and you polish the picture or the video, and you put some brilliance, and you do Photoshop. People wouldn't like that. They want simple ones. A couple of days ago, I left Lebanon, and there was a lady I love, I affectionate, so dearly, and every time I leave, I go to see her and have coffee with her. So I decided, to film in 1 minute a small story with her. That lady has been there before the airport was built up in Beirut. And she is really a book of history. And people loved it. There's a 1 minute thing where I have spoken, I introduced her, I featured her. She spoke for a few seconds, but that was enough. It was real. People felt it was a real story. This is what people want.
I did see it. It was very heartwarming. It did make my day. You remind me of something that I read, and I believe it was in Anti-Fragile, the book by Nicholas Nassim Taleb. He talked in different terms about how we've forgotten to speak to our grandmas as a generation, especially the younger ones. I think there is like a feeling or impression of we know better and times have changed. Yet when you speak to people of other generations, and sometimes it's not sophisticated or intellectual in any way, but it's just like so simple and full of wisdom precisely because of that.
The era of our grandmothers is an exceptional era. First of all, the storytelling was only told and narrated, and it used to go from one generation to another. People used to sit and talk and talk. There was one TV channel, one TV that starts at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. And beside that, families used to gather and talk. Families used to visit each other. Uncles, aunts, they used to visit each other on occasions. Christmas, Easter, Ramadan, Fitr, all those, holy occasions, people used to visit each other. It was beautiful. And I think every lady used to prepare the cake, the cookies, used to buy chocolates and nougat and dragée, and used to wait for other people to come so she could offer to her guests, whatever they wanted. Today, nobody visits you. except if you throw a party or if you organize a lunch or dinner. Things have changed. So grandmothers used to tell us stories, and we used to be all glued around them and with ears open to listen to what they tell us. And this was magical. It was beautiful. It's not the case anymore. For me to bring my kids today and talk to them, it's impossible. Each one has his own iPad and his own world. Things have changed. Things have changed. I would have loved to belong to an older era. Things were more beautiful. There was a pleasure in waiting for things, discovering things. Now you got everything. If you click on a button, you have it.
Yet people are increasingly struggling to be fulfilled and enjoy things. That says a lot.
Not everybody, a minority. The ones, I think, who could know what happiness means and what happiness is about. Look today, the shallowness, what people usually follow. Look at the fashionistas today. Fashionistas. They wear dresses and bags and shoes. They're paid for that. And people follow them. No content. No content. Nothing to say. And look for people who crave to communicate a deep content. Why do you follow them? It's so difficult. It's so you do not know what people want. But if you want to compare, minority craves for content and majority goes for shallowness. And the ones who crave for content, they know what happiness is. They remind me of those who meditate, those who do yoga, to be, in trance, to elevate themselves from the ground and to take themselves to another status. They leverage many things. For me, those people, they're trying to know their body, to know their mind, to discover themselves. Those ones, they seek happiness. The others think they're happy, but they're not happy. When you live for others, you cannot be happy. When you live because you want to post a beautiful picture, so people, would see the picture and they put likes, and you're struggling to get more likes and more followers. This is fake. This is fake.
Was a need for validation and being admired by people, perhaps even like years ago, ever a motivation for you?
It's beautiful. Today in Dubai, for instance, I was having coffee with a friend of mine. And then a gentleman who was a waiter at this coffee shop, he came to me. He's a Filipino. He said, Mr. Karam, I'm a big follower and a big fan. And he offered me capsules of coffee. I have them with me here. So it meant a lot to me, what he did. This guy. Coming across people that you do not even know. Not from your world, not from the Arab world or from Lebanon. And this is so rewarding. I have made friends all over the world. And I've got wonderful people whom I know love me dearly. And that means the world to me. And I'm so rich thanks to those people. And I know that they love me because of what I represent and what I give them. I'm not a singer. I'm not a musician. I'm not a writer. But I can be their voice. And being their voice, this is what they say, is for me, wow, a big responsibility, but at the same time, it's an honor and a privilege to be designated or chosen as the voice of so many people. So yes, it is rewarding. It makes me happy, more than happy, thrilled.
Was there ever a point in your career where you were particularly sensitive, perhaps, to negative feedback? Like how, obviously, we live in a world today where
Sure.
we're bombarded with feedback by virtue of how things are. But maybe back in the day or even today, like how did you kind of navigate being a public person?
At my beginnings, I was, of course, annoyed and sad. Why people, are attacking me? This is normal. I was a kid. I was in my early 20s. Wanted to be loved by everybody. I did not understand what public life is about. And today, you become careless. You become careless. You become, how to say, stubborn. Not stubborn, but opaque, difficult to touch, invincible, maybe. I don't like when people convey fakeness, fake news, and lies. I recall, my three languages are equally strong. Maybe when I speak, for instance, English, you can tell I'm more French educated, but my English, written one is as strong as the French one or the Lebanese one or the Arabic one. And, there was a group of journalists who used to say that I was unable to write one question in Arabic. It wasn't me who was preparing my questions and my set and my intro and it annoyed me a lot because I used to spend a lot of time preparing, the content of my shows. I was in my early 20s. It was always hard work. I remember when I started, there was no budget for the shows. I had no team. I was on my own. On my own. Contacting, calling, preparing, sending faxes. We had no internet at the time, so no emails. And it was a one-man show. And coming and listening to those nasty things, was not at all what I was hoping for. But they happened. And that taught me a lot. And I learned a lot. And thanks to those attacks, I am who I am today. Partly.
You touched upon the change in the media landscape. A lot has changed in terms of how people consume information and conceive of the world today. Social media, in many ways, democratized news and information. We have a plurality of voices, but it's also had almost like a paradoxical effect of making a lot of us live in these self-reinforcing bubbles where we're only hearing people with similar viewpoints and not accustomed at all to like the other side of things. I think at least back in the day, traditional media attempted, not always successfully, to show like a more balanced view, or at least let you know that there is an opposing viewpoint. Today, things are changing, and I think a lot of people are very much within their bubble, and it's very apparent with a lot of the most recent event. As somebody who I know is a truth seeker and wants to base opinion on facts, like how do you navigate, how do you view this changing landscape? And I'm also curious if it has any impact on your actual work.
I'm independent. I've always been independent and I work independently. I'm not part of a group of media. I'm not enrolled in any media institution. I'm not on a payroll of any entity, whether governmental or non-governmental. So that gives me wings to navigate and to say whatever I want to say without fear. I'm someone very bold and very courageous because I only stick to truth and justice and human rights. And those values are mainly and mostly what I fight for and what I try to defend. I cannot condemn or attack my colleagues who work in media institutions and who either do not tell the truth or are part of a medium or a platform that conveys fake news. Some people do not have the luxury I have. And if they do their job, they're finished. So people, I think they're living in a bubble. On one hand, they know, what they're saying is not true, it's fake, but they have no other choice. Otherwise, this is the dead end of their career. And on the other hand, they're lost. I cannot condemn. When they attack some journalists, I say, please do not. You need to know why they're doing what they're doing. I know how things happen in some media institutions. Either you say that or goodbye. And people are terrified. They're not even tweeting. They're not even endorsing a post. They're afraid. So we live today in an era of fear worldwide. And sometimes the fear it is not justified. Some media and some governments did not even interfere. They did not force people to say something, or they did not, forbid them from saying something else. They imagined that they should not talk about this issue, especially Gaza, because if they do so, it will have a negative impact on them. So it was, a personal assessment of a situation and a personal decision. Few are the media I respect. Few are the media outlets I respect. Few are the ones who are able to outshine and to remind us that media is the fourth power, as they say. Media rule the world. And when you see how the media was, those last 3-4 months, you see, oh my God. From the biggest networks, from BBC to ABC to Sky to CNN, all those networks. I'm talking about TV stations. And what we've witnessed in Lahey a couple of days ago is as well, the projection of what the media entails today. So this is so sad. Media and politics are so much aligned, and they go together. They're so parallel. And really, I commend those, who had the boldness to remain truthful to themselves and to say things that they are. And at the same time, I do not condemn those who couldn't do it. It's a difficult exercise, and I understand them. And I tell them, if you can do it, we can do it for you.
I think very naively, I thought for the longest of time that freedom of speech was just something that maybe in our part of the world we struggle with. Not everywhere. I think Lebanon has a really good history of, in many ways, you look skeptical, at least from an observer's standpoint, of allowing people to share their frustrations, even though maybe things didn't get resolved. But I think with the most recent events, it's been even shocking to me how exactly your words, the political wing and the media wing are very much intertwined, and a lot of the media outlets are very much aligned with what governments are doing, as opposed to being independent and aiming to share things as they are. And yes, it is complicated, and there are many people with good intentions who are not able to enact change, and many people who maybe just hold certain ideologies and they've kind of been brought up in a system, and it's really, really hard to part ways with that.
We are living interesting times. Uncertain times, yes. Unusual moments, yes. But interesting at the same time. Because we are rediscovering the world. And we are reassessing how the world wanted us to believe in. And it's an era of deceptions. We're all living in big deceptions.
How do we exercise intellectual self-defense when we're constantly bombarded by so much and there's like a duty to filter through it all?
I think we need to find time to listen to ourselves, to what lies within us, to hear our own voice. It's important to draw back a bit and to have a daily exercise when we're alone with ourselves, to believe, to have faith, believe in whatever you want, in God and in energy, in values, in yourself, of course, but believe, have faith. And you need to say that tomorrow is definitely better. You know, Holako came and ruled the world. And he killed and he committed a genocide and he was the most powerful. And then he finished at the end. Nothing can remain. Everything has got an end. Let's think as such. Humanity will always win and overcome all the obstacles. And we need to work for humanity to be celebrated and let it lead the upcoming generations and let our kids embrace humanity. So it would always lead them and guide them and take them to shores that are safe when there is only love and happiness and good deed.
Celebrating humanity. It takes me to TAKREEM, a foundation you created in 2009. I'd love actually for you to talk a little bit about where the idea came from and the context under which TAKREEM was created, and also where you see it kind of going and how you see it evolving moving forward.
TAKREEM sprung up from my TV shows. I've always said a TV show comes and goes. I need to think about something bigger. But who I am, I was so young, and to create a foundation myself, it's not something sustainable, and it cannot really work. And I was on my own, and I do not have any business mind myself. So, creating a foundation, make it operational, make it grow, proliferate, is not something easy. The TV shows that have impacted people were those with self-made men and women, with the success stories of changemakers, of people who inspired the audience. I remember at the beginnings, the TV network I used to work with in Lebanon, MTV, did not want to hear about that. Bring to the screen unknown figures who would eventually watch them. And I said, let's try. One show will be with known people, and the upcoming one will be with unknown people. And let's see. And you've noticed that the unknown people were as followed as much as the celebrities who were hosting. So the idea came up from that, creating a platform that would contribute in changing the narratives of the Arab world. Let's tell the whole world who we are. We're not how we are portrayed, fundamentalists and terrorists and extremists. We're much more than that. We're creative, we're leaders. The biggest companies worldwide are led by Lebanese and many Arabs, Palestinians, Syrians, Egyptians, North African. I'm not talking about the Gulf because most of the Gulf, or people from the Gulf, they live in the Gulf. They did not invade the world like we did. We had no other choice.
Yeah.
We have no oil, we have no revenues, we are poor countries, and we had only our minds. But today, when we look at the Arab world and we see the wonderful set of young people who have really embraced great degrees and wonderful education and who are leading their companies, you cannot but vote with that. But at that time, there was the Levantines and the North African and the Egyptians. So this is how TAKREEM saw the light, changing the perceptions, the narratives, inspiring the young people, inviting the media and ask them to come and see who are the true Arabs. How are the true Arabs? And this is how things happened. You know, we used to meet once a year for a huge awards ceremony. And then it was a weekend with different activities. And then we had the forums included. And then we had different forums a year. And then we created the American Foundation, TAKREEM America, which is a sister foundation, but which has nothing to do with TAKREEM in the region. And now we're about also to launch TAKREEM Africa. And so we're growing. And when I think about it, I look at the back 15 years ago. I say, oh my God, you know, you've done it and you've made it. And I'm happy. I'm happy and I'm proud. I'm proud.
Lastly, Ricardo, TAKREEM is dedicated to celebrating people's legacies. Is Ricardo's own legacy a motivation? And if so, how would you like to be remembered?
I like to be remembered as someone who tried to make a positive change and to make people happy and to convey hope. I like to be remembered as a man who remained truthful to himself and who did not sell his soul, and for whom dignity is what mattered mostly. Our voice is ourselves, and I would never sell my voice for anything in the world. I want my children to grow and to remember that and to be proud that their father stick to his principles, and humanity has always been his drive. And I hope as well that humanity will be theirs. And they will think alike in terms of noble causes and in terms of human purpose.
Ricardo, thank you. Shukran. This was great. Thank you so much for very kindly agreeing to do this.
I thank you, Mona. It was great talking to you. You know, a podcast is an encounter between two people. It's a discussion, simple one. And this is how it was with you. It's not an interview, it's a discussion, and I've enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you so much.